Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is chapter 5.4 and 5.5, and it's about multiplying and dividing fractions. Most of this will seem pretty review to you. There will be some key little pieces in here that might be new. Make sure you're still taking notes, definitions, terminologies, procedures, examples, and then writing down any questions you have as we go, and the learning topic and the I can statements. Thank you. The steps to multiplying a fraction: the first thing you do is you multiply numerators, then you multiply the denominator, and then simplify as needed. So if we look in our first example, we have 3/5 times 4/7, and that equals 3 times 4 over 5 times 7, which is 12 over 35. Then we can also put it into algebraic terms where we have a over b times c over d, which gives us a times c over b times d, where and so long as b is not equal to 0 and d is not equal to 0, because again we don't want a 0 in our denominator. And remember to pause at any time that you need to take and write down notes or to reread something. If you need to rewind and re-listen, that is fine as well. Okay, let's go ahead and proceed. Multiplying fractions. When you multiply a fraction that is a negative, the standard practice is to assign the negative to the numerator. Recall from the earlier topics that negative 5/7 can be written as negative 5 over 7 or 5 over negative 7. Both are correct. We just typically assign the negative sign to the numerator. That's just the common practice, is the negative sign goes to the numerator. It's not the only way. So for example, if we have negative 5/7 times 2/3, that is going to equal negative 5 times 2 over 7 times 3. When we multiply, we find we have negative 10 over 21. You can rewrite that to be negative 10 over 21. That is fine as well. When multiplying a fraction that is a mixed number, you need to turn that into an improper fraction before multiplying. So if we have 3 and 5/7 times 2 and 1/2, got to make those improper fractions. So to do so, I take 3 times 7 and I'm going to add 5. So 3 times 7 is 21, plus 5 is 26. So I put that in the numerator now and I keep the 7. Then I multiply 2 times 2 plus 1, and that gives me my 5/2. So now I'm going to rewrite this as 26 times 5 over 7 times 2. That gives me 130 over 14, or 9 and 4/14, or to completely simplify, 9 and 2/7. Remember, when converting a mixed number to an improper fraction, you multiply the whole number to the denominator and you add the numerator to come up with your new value for the numerator. Multiplying fractions to continued. Simplify expressions before you multiply. You can do 4 times 7 times 1, 6 equals 4 and 42s, or 4 over 42. Or you simplify that to be 2 over 21. You're going to hear me in later topics saying pre-simplify, and that just means we're not waiting till the end to simplify. Sometimes there is many situations that will be coming up where simplifying throughout the process will make your life a lot easier. You're not going to get these really outrageous numbers at the end, like 98 times 24. By simplifying, sometimes we can get that to be 7 times 2, and that makes your life a lot easier as a mental math. So there's a reason for this. You want to look at the numbers that you're going to simplify before you begin to multiply. So what you do is you look at the numerator of the first fraction. So I'm going to look here at 4/7, and I'm going to see if the numerator of the first fraction has anything, a common factor, with the denominator of the second. And in this case, 4 and 6 have a common factor of 2. So I'm going to take 4 divided by 2, and that's going to give me 2 now. And this one over here, 6 divided by 2, is going to give me 3. So now I've simplified, and I've gotten 2 over 7 times 1 over 3. When I come down here and I multiply 2 times 1, I get 2. 7 times 3 is 21. I now get 2/21s. We see that we've simplified that. And we did that as a pre-simplify during the steps of the math, so that when we got to the end we didn't have something that was more complicated to do. If you'll take a brief moment to read over here and see if that helps you understand what's gone over here and how to do this for all the situations, because there will be times where you can simplify this, the numerator to this denominator, as well as this denominator to this numerator. So this is just one example. Okay, dividing fractions. Many of you have heard it, keep it, switch it, flip it. Well, we're going to explain what that really means other than just a process. So to divide any number by a fraction, the first step is you find the reciprocal of a fraction. Then you multiply that reciprocal of the fraction. And the third step is going to be simplify any results. If you get 4 over 24, you can simplify that. The fourth step is check your answer. Did it work? Does it make sense? Note that you cannot divide by with non-zero fractions. So it means you cannot have a 0 in the denominator. That's going to cause you problems. So if I have 3 divided by 1/4 right here, I'm going to rewrite this as 3, the inverse of division, which is multiplication, times the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4. So the keep it, you switched division and multiplication, and you flipped 1/4 to become 4 over 1, and we just write it as 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. So let's look at the second example. 3 divided by 3/4. Well, we're going to get 3. The inverse operation, or the switch it, is multiplication. So 3 times the reciprocal, or the flip, is going to be 4/3. So 3 times 4/3. So we get 3 times 4 over 3, 12 over 3 equals 4. So remember to keep it, switch it, flip it. The next page is going to give you some more actual definitions, so you know the switch it is really the inverse operation. So if you need to catch up with this real quick, please do so, and see you in the next slide. Okay, so we're continuing the dividing fractions. So let's look over here where it says steps. The keep it, the first fraction as is. You do nothing with it, you just stays. The switch it is the inverse operation of division. So if you take the inverse operation of division, well, that's also known as we're going to multiply. The flip it is the reciprocal of the second fraction. So we have 1/3 divided by 3/4. We write the division as a multiplication by the reciprocal of the divisor. Okay, what that means is 1/3 divided by 3/4 becomes 1/3 times 4/3. We get 4/9. Now if we have 5/7 divided by 10/15, we're going to write the division multiplication by the reciprocal. So again, 5/7 divided by 10/5 becomes 5/7 times, because we took the inverse operation and we're taking the reciprocal, so it's 15/10. Now that we have this, we look and we say, you know what, this numerator's got 5 and this denominator's a 10. I have a common factor here of 5. So I can divide a 5 out of this and a 5 out of this, and when I do so, I get 1/7 times 15/2. Now, when I look here, 7 and 15 don't have anything in common, so I leave them alone. And so I'm going to go ahead and go 1 times 15 over 7 times 2. This becomes 15/14, or the same as 1 1/14. So remember, the switch it is inverse operation, and the flip it's the reciprocal. Okay, if you're dividing fractions that are negative, some basic rules for that apply for both dividing and multiplying. If you're dividing the fractions with a negative, the standard practice is to assign the negative to the numerator. Remember, if assigning it to the denominator, it's not wrong, it's just not what we commonly do. If you're dividing fractions that are mixed numbers, you need to convert them into improper fractions before you can proceed. Those are 2 basic rules that apply the same whether you're dividing or you're multiplying. Okay, thank you. Make sure you go back over your notes and you look for any questions you have, and watch the video to clarify, and then come in with any questions that are still existing after such. Thank you very much.